Another ceasefire in the Middle East, another round of back-patting and finger-pointing. But is this peace, or just a pause? This is Millennial AE, Year 1, Week 5. Peace in our time. There's a lot of talk about war amongst my generation. For years we have dreaded the capital W, thermonuclear war. We grew up watching movies and shows featuring wastelands, fractured countries, and other post-apocalyptic themes, so it's no surprise that we've always had one eye on the ICBM silos, expecting to see them open any day now. Fortunately, once I reached the age of reason, say 12 or so, it became increasingly clear to me that this wasn't something worth worrying about. The rest of my generation doesn't seem to agree with me, but then again they also seem to have extremely strong opinions about conflicts we have no business being in, like the Israel-Palestine conflict. In the wake of the October 16, 2025 ceasefire in the Israel-Palestine War, people on both sides of the political aisle have started sounding off on social media, proudly claiming their party was responsible for the agreement or levying blame about how long it took to achieve. For what it's worth, I don't think anyone should be surprised that Trump managed to secure the ceasefire. Say what you want about his tact or tactics, but no one would for a second believe that Trump would not respond with force if he felt the U.S., a valued ally, or even his X account was under attack. Logically, if you believed the administration in power wouldn't push the point, you would feel emboldened to try and get as much leverage as possible over your enemies. Hamas was doing what any hostile country would do under the previous administration. I also find it funny that liberals have made this issue their whole personality for months, yet seem strangely quiet about it now. Who'd have thought? Anyway, I'm sure we will hear from them soon because, unfortunately, there's absolutely no chance that this ceasefire will hold. While the Republicans are busy patting themselves on the back, I can't help but feel like there's a logical disconnect happening here. Remember how I mentioned the threat of nuclear war hanging over our head for generations like an inherited sword of Damocles? Well, the way that America and the West in general has come to think of war is not in line with how countries have always thought of war. Absolute global destruction is a new threat to our species, born out of the nuclear fires of World War II. To a Westerner, war is a universal evil. You may be permitted to defend yourself or others, but there is no legitimate cause for starting a war. Historically speaking, you would be hard-pressed to find a time prior to World War II where there was not some major conflict ongoing between two powers. War was not just waged for political power or trade route security, but even for such simple motivation as testing your newfound industrial might. To us, this seems ridiculous. We imagine that World War I and II were conflicts that were an utter shock to the civilized countries that engaged in them. But if you study history, you see the truth. Take the account of William Yale as an example. William Yale was an American spy in 1913. Instead of being a spy for the government, which would have been a very boring job in those years, he was a spy for the Standard Oil Company. Yale was sent into the Middle East to scout for oil and to survey the political landscape. At the time, it was very difficult to tell who was actually in control of the region, as there was near constant infighting between different ruling parties and tribes. If you're going to drill for oil, you need permission, and so Yale set off on his mission. Yale sailed across the Atlantic on a German steamer called the Imperator, and he noticed the German crew doing something odd. Every day they toasted to Der Tag. This translates to the day. But what day? It wasn't this day as he originally thought. It was a rallying cry to the future of the German nation, to a day that would see Germany stand tall in front of the whole world. It turns out they wouldn't wait more than a year. Nobody was surprised by World War I, not even the citizens. In fact, the German government prepared because they knew that once Bismarck died in 1898, the peace he built would fail and power would be up for grabs. And so they prepared. And the people could feel it. And they were excited for it. War is the default state. The reason we will never secure peace in the Middle East without nightmarish bloodshed is because we have no ideological framework for the situation there. These cultures conceive of warfare in an entirely different manner. Forget holy wars. The cycle of warfare has never been broken in that region of the world. Profit, honor, resources, security, simple bad blood between two nations. The reasons are endless. Add on a religious claim to the land, and you have the perfect recipe for a never-ending battle. So, what do we do? You can't entirely abandon an ally, and that means getting involved to some degree. Frankly, I think you let them sort it out and give the occasional nudge to Israel if they ever urgently need backup. What I do know is that the more involved we get, the higher the probability of American boots on the ground. And no Americans should die over useless land claimed by a country that is not us. In regards to the usually liberal protests about human rights violations by Israel, I again raise the point that we are viewing a Middle East conflict through a modern Western lens. If you told an American that sacrificing their life in battle would mean there was a slim chance that their grandchildren could win the war in 300 years, we would laugh in your face and say we'd find another way. We're not even 300 years old. We can't even conceive of planning that far ahead, whether or not it is in vain. But that is exactly what a Hamas soldier or IDF soldier would do. If it meant Israel might one day reclaim their land, or that Hamas would successfully establish a unified Islamic state, they'd lay on a grenade right this second. There is a conviction of ideals that comes with generations of conflict, and we simply haven't been around long enough to even forecast that far ahead. Every war they fight is a total war, which is yet another reason to stay out of them. In the moment, let's celebrate the win, but prepare ourselves for the next conflict. Keep our guys out of the region and out of the fighting, because there will be another surge in the fighting. And another after that. And another after that. And another after that. You've been listening to Millennial AE. Remember to keep your eyes on the horizon and to get under your desk if you see a flash. I'll see you next week.